Summarization is the process of condensing a lengthy piece of text into a concise version, retaining only the most essential and relevant information. Automated text summarization aids in quickly grasping the core essence of lengthy articles, research papers, or documents without having to read through the entirety. Consider a detailed description of Eiffel Tower's history and structure. With summarization, this lengthy paragraph is distilled into just 2 sentences, focusing solely on the primary details about its height and its standing compared to the other structures in France. The result retains the core essence without the extensive details. As with our previous examples, we first need to ensure we have imported the required library to utilize the functionality. This provides us with all the necessary tools and models we need to perform the operations. For text summarization, we will utilize the summarization pipeline. In this case, we are employing the model Zenova DistilBart CNN 6-6. This model is designed to efficiently condense information while retaining the main points. The function here requests a summary of the text, and we have set a limit of 100 new tokens to ensure our summary doesn't get too long. After processing, the model gives us a summarized version of the text. Here we see that the model has efficiently captured the main details of the lengthy description, presenting us with a short yet informative summary. This is the power of automated text summarization in action. Okay, now let's look at the implementation. We go to the summarization card. We have this summarization page. We only have a text area and a button to summarize its content. I'll go to Visual Studio Code. I will open the summarization HTML and I will start with the 3 steps as usual. First, we will create the script tag. It is of type module because we need to use the import feature. Then inside that, the first thing we do is that we import this pipeline function from this URL. Of course, the URL can be obtained if we go to the Transformers page to installation. We can see here where to get the URL from. Back to Visual Studio Code, the next step will be to make the pipeline on the window object, because objects defined inside a type module script are private by default. So in order to make the pipeline available globally, I attach it to the window object. Okay, let's now go below to the initialize model. I will launch the pipeline. I'll pass the task as summarization and I will put the name of the model. I will copy this model name and I will show you where we can find these models. So I'll go back to the Transformer.js page, the pipeline API. If we go below, we will find these tasks. Now what we are doing now is summarization. So this is summarization. If we look at model, we will find these models. Apparently our model is the first one in the list. Okay, let's go back to Visual Studio Code. Now the next step will be in the summarize text handler. So in all our previous implementation, we used just to make the call, which take time and wait for it to finish and update the UI. Now, in order to do it correct, it's better that before we make the long call, that we should disable everything in the page. Then we make the call. Then after the call returns, we update the UI and enable back everything in the page. Of course, that should have been done everywhere, but because I focused in this series just on JavaScript code required to access the Transformers.js. So I used to do it just doing the call without modifying the UI properly. Now I wanted to show you how this can be done properly. So that's what we will be doing here. So the first step, I am getting the text area and I am getting the summarization button, and I am getting the text inside the text area and trimming it to remove any space. Then here I am setting the output to null because possibly the summarization was run before and there is something in the output. So we should clear that first. Then I am disabling the text area, disabling the summarization button, and setting the cursor, the mouse cursor, to wait. Now for these things to take effect, the disable and the cursor, we need to delay our call for the library a little bit in order to allow for this to update. So to do so, I call the setTimeout function. I ask it to wait for 10 milliseconds, and after 10 milliseconds it will call this function that I specify here as first parameter. This is the famous setTimeout function where you pass a time to wait and a function to call after this time is elapsed. Now you can see it is a sync function because inside it we will do a wait call. Let's now add the call to the generator. We add the generator call, we pass to it the text area value, which is what we read above from the text area, and we pass a JavaScript object that contains a key called max new tokens and set that to 100 to make sure that the summary is just 100 maximum. Now this is a wait, so this will take some time. When it returns back, the summary will be stored on the summary variable. I will convert that to a string and I will output it. Now the things that I already disabled, I need now to enable them, and I need to return the cursor to the default state. Now with this, I think it is a much cleaner implementation because before we launch our call, we disable everything, set the cursor to wait, then we allow that to update the UI, then we make our lengthy call. When we get back the response, we update the UI and enable back the controls. Let's go now to the web page. And here, of course, this is the same text about the Eiffel Tower. I will click on Summarize. As you can see, everything has been disabled and the mouse is now has the wait cursor. Of course, the summarization is a little bit longer than what we usually get. So here the browser is telling me that it is taking long. I asked it just to continue waiting. As you can see here, we have got back the summary. I updated the output and then enabled everything back. Now if I summarize again, you will notice that the output will be cleared before we make the call. So if I do summarize, you can see now the output has been cleared. Okay, so that will make another call.